Well, we're going to hear one in a minute, and people can judge what they like. In fact, I think we'll put one on now.
Is this the first one?
This is which track's this, Martin?
This one is track 1.
Track 1, is that the one? Which one did you say you wanted to play first?
I think it was 110 and 8, wasn't it? Yeah.
110 and 8.
Yeah. So track 1.
Yes.
Well, do you want to?
I was going to say we'll bung it on, and then you can tell us about it afterwards.
Okay, yeah.
Go for it, Martin.
Stephen, we've just listened to your Get Influenced, which was excellent.
Yeah, I was trying to work out who it reminded me of, but I can't. It's got quite a few influences in there, actually. I know you got influenced in some way, but everybody gets influenced when they're writers, don't they? Absorb stuff from all over the place.
It depends how they absorb it.
Yeah.
Through which, Yeah.
What
that song's basically about is. When I wrote it, it was probably about early 90s, or maybe mid 90s, and I think it were. I got this mate who were a teacher, and he was sort of like grew up in the 60s, and all he's going on about, he bought new stuff and he bought old stuff, but he was always going on about songs about people. Basically that people wrote songs because they were on drugs. You know what I mean? Because they were having a hallucination, they were all high. And I just thought, I have maybe it's a bit arrogant of me, but I have a problem with that, because I just think, well, what's wrong with your own imagination to actually write a song? Why do you have to get stoned or actually ratted or whatever to actually come out with something? You just use your head normally, surely. You know what I mean?
It is a weird one. I mean, certain musicians have always claimed that it enhanced their ability to write music, and yet. For everyone that does that, there's another one sat in a corner dribbling down themselves.
Yeah.
Peter Green, one of the greatest guitarists ever, as good as Jimi Hendrix, absolutely superb, fried his brain with LSD, and was never right after it. He's still alive, he's not dead, but he's not firing on all cylinders, and never has been ever since. And the band members of Fleetwood Mac, which is who I was with originally, they say it was one specific night when he went on LSD, and after that he was never the same again. It was as if the lights had been switched off. Right. And there's a few musicians like that who've copped for it, and of course some of them have copped for using other drugs. They've killed themselves, haven't they?
Yeah.
Some great musicians. Well, I mean, you wonder what Jimi Hendrix would have been doing now if he'd have kept off that sort of stuff.
They've probably been a civil servant.
Well, that is the argument, you see. You could argue that people who play it safe and think, I wouldn't ever risk taking drugs that I've just bought. And what they do to it.
I do think, though, they're not promoting imaginative things enough. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about kids doing creative writing and that. Yeah. Kids' imaginations are getting stifled. Yeah. And they really do need it bringing out of them more. Yeah.
I think, films like Yellow Submarine, which often people refer to as being a sign that the Beatles had started using LSD, which, obviously, the film was a stylised film created by some cartoonist. It was the guy who did the Flintstones, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, he did all that. The Beatles didn't sit there and draw all them things, but definitely some of the music in there was influenced by drugs.
Oh yeah.
But kids could be. You could watch the Yellow Submarine film
as a kid and not know,
and be influenced it in a sort of very imaginative way.
Yeah.
and that would stimulate you to go off and do stuff.
Yeah.
That's not taking a drug. It's being stimulated by something visual and oral, if that's the right word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. One thing that gets me, again, I'll grouch, but when when we were talking like last time, when we were talking about things like the stuff like Blake 7, Sapphire and Steel, all those kind of things, where it was like a shoestring budget. You know what I mean? Blake 7 came out the same year as Star Wars did. Obviously, there was a marked difference between them, and the modern films, like I just know people even my age who just won't watch one of the old films because because the effects aren't there telling them what to think. You know what I mean? In the old days of Sapphire and Steel and stuff like that, I mean, I still watch them, and I think they're brilliantly done. And it, again, just because part of it was left to your imagination to think a wee bit, rather than it's like you should imagine a really old film like Fiend Without a Face, and you've got all it is literally it's these things that are these brains that are flying around and attacking people. You can't see them. All you can hear is this noise before you actually see what they are that's attacking. Before all you get is this sound, and it's a kind of a I don't know, a weird sort of eerie sort of sound as it coming closer. You don't know what it is,
and that's more scary.
That's
is it?
It's rather than super duper. CGI, and they've not got CGI right either. Because I've watched some of the Star Wars, and it always makes me feel sick watching like Jar Jar Binks try and jump, and it doesn't jump naturally because they've not got the gravity sussed out, and all that type of thing. And it's just there's just too much of that. There's less of the chance for people to use their own imagination. I think.
I'll tell you what impresses me though about that track that we've just heard, and that is you were saying that you recorded that all yourself. You made that sound completely yourself using different instruments apart from the drums.
It was just mainly bass and some guitars, but
just layering one track over another.
But also, I mean, in the middle part, because that's a bit about saying like hallucinations fill your scrapbook, and that's got lots of sort of flanges and phases and lots of flanges and choruses and lots of digital delay echoes and stuff like that, just to sound a bit trippy for that.
No, it's just incredible though, to think that you could make that sort of sound yourself. Yeah, without a backing group or anything else.
I'd probably prefer to work that way again. If I was in a group, if I ever was in a group again, and it was a Hybropsyche group, then this time they'd have to do what I told them.
Yeah, because your band was called Hybropsyche, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, because I like to be in control of my radio show, my rock show, even though it's a joint run thing now, because obviously I've got two other people helping me do it, and they're of equal validity. In fact, they're better at it than I am now. But I still feel as though it's my show, and I want to do this and I want to do that. I even come in and say what we're going to say at the beginning of the show. And if they start coming in and saying, "No, I know what we should do this joke at the beginning of the show and that joke at the beginning of the show," I wouldn't really like it. I must be a control freak or something. But I have to hold myself back and say it's not just my show. It's now our show.
But I do think you need somebody who has overall control. Somebody who basically makes the final decision on the thing.
I've been in sort of democratic bands and they just don't work. They don't. You've got to have a dictatorship.
You're probably right. Yeah. That's I'll use that excuse if I get any strop from the other two presenters. Anyway, I think we'll put another one of your tracks on. Which one's this? Which number?
10, I think it is.
Number 10. Right, is this a different sort of feel to it or what?
Yeah, because basically this CD is a split.
Right.
The first song was from the EP at the beginning the EP is called Do You Remember Indie Days? So it's all about indie rock songs type of style. But this one, the second part is a mini album called Newtopia.
Right.
And this is a song. So speaking of Blake 7, this is a tribute to Blake 7, actually, in a way. One of the mutoids that Jake's...
The mutoids.
Yeah. So
you've got to say that in a deep voice, haven't you? The mutoids.
Right. Yes, so this is called Mutoid Jane.
Right, let's have a listen. Rock and load.
Blake is here, sir, in the main laboratory. Blake? He's demanding to see you.